Hello and welcome to this presentation where we shall be talking about software project scope management. The scope of a project or a product is all the features and functionality as well as the document deliverables and all the processes that go into producing such software and documents in such project or product. Now let us look into the various areas of project scope management. The first step in software project scope management deals with defining what is in scope and what is out of scope. As we saw, the various elements that are in scope in any software project or product development consist of the software, modules, functionality, features, the various document deliverables like user manuals, release documents, technical manuals, and services that go with the software. It could be training on the product or project features. It could be knowledge transfer on how the project deliverables have to be installed or deployed. Project management. Who is responsible for that? Is it the software supplier or is it the customer employing somebody in the PMO? What about system integration? That involves working with the third parties as well. Is that part of the scope of the deliverables? Help desk and support services post the project being deployed. Because quite often when we talk about scope, we think that it is only software and documents, and most often the conflict arises in these peripheral areas which form the services surrounding the software and documents. So it is not only the software scope, but also the services scope that needs to be well understood. Then clearly articulate what is out of scope, what is not in this particular project scope or not in the scope of our delivery. It is part of either the customer's responsibilities or some other third party who has to deliver that. So that is third party scope. In order to do all this, the inputs are taken from what we have responded in the RFP request for proposal, what we have agreed to in the contract, what we have said in the project charter, and what has been discussed during the stakeholder engagement. So all these form as inputs for arriving at the scope, and that is clearly laid out in the project scope document and project deliverables list. And this forms the output of this particular stage of scope management. Once the project scoping is done, the next step is to get into a detailed requirements specification. This is done as part of the requirement collection or the requirement elicitation phase. There are different techniques to do the requirements elicitation, and we shall look at some of these. The first of these is to study the existing business process document of the current business. This will help us to give an understanding of how the work flows, what are the interaction between the users and the systems. This forms a good basis for the analyst from the supplier side to prepare himself for the discussions with the actual end users. The next is user interviews. Here, the individual users are asked open-ended and closed-ended questions in order to get answers for the various requirement-related areas. This will help in detailing out the specifications for the various features and functionalities. The next is requirement discussion workshops. Here, a group of people from the user side who belong to a particular domain are assembled together and particular topics of interest are taken up and discussed so that a set of requirements belonging to a particular domain can be discussed and finalized. Scenario analysis. In this, various different scenarios, normal scenarios, exception scenarios, etc. are discussed, are projected, and different outcomes and outputs are projected in order to arrive at the right behavior of the intended system. The last one is prototype demos and discussions. Here, the software developer actually demos to the users of the system a typical prototype of what the system could look like. This gives the user a better look and feel of the system and also how he could interact with it in the future. This helps to generate a lot of interest and also get the right kind of feedback, which will help in making course corrections and incorporate valuable inputs into the development of the project and the product. So these are some of the key techniques used in requirements elicitation. So the project scope document is the starting point for the requirements elicitation phase, and at the end of this particular phase, what you get is a detailed project requirement specification and a requirement matrix. Using the requirement specifications, the project manager also draws up a detailed work breakdown structure, which is nothing but packages, requirements packages of the work which different team members can work upon. So at the end of this phase, you have a good requirement specification document, which leads into the development of a good work breakdown structure, which is workable packages for the development team. Once the project scope is defined and the requirements are detailed out and the project execution gets underway, one of the key functions that the project manager has to undertake is to control the scope. While we do understand that scope control is a key element, the project manager also has to keep in mind the importance of meeting stakeholder expectations. It is often said that change is the only constant. It means that it is inevitable that stakeholders may bring up new requirements during the course of the project, or they may bring up changes to existing requirements. So what does the project manager do during such situation? Can he say that the requirements have already been signed off and put his foot down? Can he take a rigid approach? Well, that may not always work. So he needs to often have a solution-oriented approach, and he needs to have a negotiating mindset. He can try to provide workaround solutions to the problems. The customer may agree, but sometimes the changes which are requested by the customer may be quite important for them, in which case the project manager has to take these requirements on board and he has to put them through a proper change control process. So there are two elements to any change control process. The first is the technical element. He has to do a proper technical study of the requirements which have come through. He needs to see if the changes which are being asked for have any impact on the existing features that are being developed. He also needs to do an effort estimation for developing these changes or new requirements. So this is the technical aspect. The second is the commercial aspect. He needs to see what would be the cost of developing these estimates, whether there is a effort involved, what is the effort and how much is it going to cost. Now the process of change control has to be well defined up front in the scope management plan. and there needs to be a proper change control board, people with the right authority to approve such changes, both from the vendor side and from the customer side. So they should, inevitably, any change in scope will have an impact on either the timeline or the cost or both. So the people with the appropriate authority have to approve the extension to the timeline of the project or sanction the additional cost for the requirements that are to be developed. Sometimes one of the parties may decide to give up some of the costs. The vendor, in the interests of the customer relationship, may agree to take up some of the costs. So such decisions need proper approval and authority from the right persons in the management. So this whole process is known as the change control process, and the people responsible to undertake such activities constitute the change control board at different levels. So once the change control items are approved, then they go into the change control documents. Say, for example, the requirements documents are written for the new changes, the project plan is altered, and any other project process assets that they need to be changed have to be updated. This is the part of the change control process. Thus, the software project scope management is a key function in the overall project management. Most often, poor scoping or poor scope control results in costly changes to the project. It also results in a lot of delays to the project and poor quality of the project that is delivered. Therefore, a tightly drawn project scope and requirements and a well-controlled project scope during the course of the project help a long way in taking the project along the right path and delivering with good quality. Thank you.